Now that we successfully generated our own custom theme and we applied it to our application and it's working really good, now let's take a closer look at this mixin that was generated for us when we generated this file. And that's the high contrast override mixin. This was created for us when we generated this file. If we open up the command line again, and when we ran this command, we were asked if we want to generate this override mixin. And I said yes. And now we have this mixin. And in this video, we'll implement this mixin. But before we do that, let's look into why we would incorporate a high contrast mode in our application in the first place. One of the reasons you would want to use a high contrast mode within your application is it really intensifies the colors within your application, like the text, the background, the buttons, and it will allow the user to see the content on your website a little easier. Let's say they're out in the bright sunlight or they're in a bright office. They could set the operating system they're on to a high contrast mode, allowing them to see the content better on your website. Now to use this, we want to first pull in our theme into, in this case, our style sheet. And we're already doing that. We set that up in the last video. And then once we pull in our theme, we'll reference that theme and call the high contrast overrides method and pass in the mode we want. In this case, we're just working with one, the light mode, but you could also pass in the dark mode. Then I'll show you how we could test this in the browser. Inside of our style sheet, we're already bringing in our custom theme. We set that up in the last video, and we're referencing it using the theme. So we'll have access to that high contrast mixin. And then inside of our HTML tag, inside the curly brackets, we're going to create a media query. So only when the user has the high contrast set on their operating system, then override all of these values with our high contrast values. So inside of here, we're going to reference or call on our theme, then call that high contrast overrides mixin, passing in the mode we want. In later videos, I will be showing you how we could easily switch between light modes and dark modes, but for now, I'll just use the light mode. And then we can save that, make sure the application is running, and we'll view it in the browser. Here in the browser, you probably won't notice a difference unless you're already using the high contrast within your operating system. But if you're not, there's a couple ways we could test this. Either we could switch over our entire operating system to use the high contrast. Like for example, I could open up my settings, then inside of ease of access, switch this over to use the high contrast mode. Or we could just test it within this browser, within this one tab. And that's the way we'll do it. It's simpler this way. To do that, you could right click and then select the inspect button. And then on the right here, select the three dots. Go down to more tools, hover on that, and then select rendering. Then down here at the bottom, you should see emulate CSS prefers contrast, this one here. Then if I scroll this up so we can see our buttons, and then if we change this over now to prefers contrast more, and as you can see, it switches our color over, and it's updated our primary color. If we go back to the application and then look at the theme, the primary color for the light color is this color. And then as you can see, those are matching up. Now that we set up our high contrast mixin, let's start working on adding some more color to our application here, like our tertiary color, our third color, the secondary color, and the error color. We'll set up our classes for that in the next video.